Hello, D-Rock here. Welcome to the channel. I've been searching for prehistoric rock art throughout the Southwest for over 20 years now. It's one of my favorite things to do while exploring the deserts. It's fascinating to stand in front of images that prehistoric peoples either painted or carved into the rock hundreds or thousands of years ago. It's a direct human connection to the past. Sometimes it's possible to grasp a meaning with certain collections of rock art. Say a hunting scene, or some of the images may mimic topography of an area, perhaps implying a map of sorts. Most of the time, it's simply impossible to understand what the images stand for, the meaning's lost to time. And sometimes I'll present an interpretation, mostly to myself, of an image that seems logical. The artist was simply expressing exactly what the artist saw, experienced, or believed. Regardless, it's all a story of some sorts, and only the artists knew exactly what they were trying to express through their paintings, drawings, or carvings. For me, it's the mystery of all those lost meanings that I find so enthralling. So please join me as I head out into the desert to discover what once was.
Buenos dias, actually Buenos tardes, it's almost afternoon now. So we're back in a canyon that I previously filmed almost a year ago. This particular canyon has an immense amount of rock art, mainly pictographs, which makes it pretty special. They're old, probably dating back at the very minimum 1,000 years, probably a lot farther than that. I've made multiple videos on this place. I even came in here and camped. Should definitely have a look. However, there's so much rock art in here that I had to be specific with what I was showing. So today we're doing a day hike. We've driven, hiked in. I'm going to look at one particular image that stands out. It stands out because it's simply unusual. And by that I mean it doesn't match with the other styles that are in here. So I find it extremely unique. We're making our way there right now. So I'm going to focus on that. It's a big, I hesitate to call it a panel because it's just one big charcoal drawing. So it's not of the typical style found in this canyon, which is unusual. So that's what we're going to have a look at. So we're in a big alcove and there's some rock art in here that I'll point out first. So this is some of the old painting. That's ochre, and then below it you can see where images have been scratched in, almost like a petroglyph. So these, I think, are two different styles. And if I move over to the left a little bit, there's a large figure scratched in here. I think these are two different cultures. A lot of the paintings have been scratched out in this canyon, and then these appear. So here's some older paintings here, and there's lots of scratchings over this. So there's a lot of art on this wall. A lot of the scratchings, some of the paintings have been scratched out. But one image that really kind of blows my mind is the one I'm about to show you. Actually, here's some unique stuff here. Here's some petroglyphs, zoomorphic. Looks like, yeah. So here's the image. And I'll move over pretty slowly. This is so out of place for this canyon. Wouldn't you agree, Jen?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't really know what to make of it. There's a human-like figure here. The patterns, the image itself, you can see, this looks like what you'd find on pottery. There's obviously some spirals here that, I don't know, there's a whole, I don't know, a whole lot going on here. It's just so different than everything else you find in this canyon. I just don't know what to make of it. There's another pattern here that's faded. That almost looks like polygonal triangle, like the basket makers when they did their art. Was one thing that was really popular was like a triangle, upside down triangle looking human-like form. I didn't even notice that until just now. You see that, Jen? Mm-hmm. That's really faded. There's more here. I don't know, I've spent a lot of time in Mexico, Northern Central America, Mesoamerica to be more accurate, and a lot of things. This resembles something you'd see in that type of artwork down there, or like New Mexico, Southern Arizona. It doesn't resemble anything I've seen in this canyon at all. It's just so random, so bizarre. You think it's possibly more recent?
Yeah, I think it's graffiti. I think it's teenagers. But I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, it's strange, to say the least. But it's got a couple zoomorphic figures in it. I don't know. Charcoal, this could be Pioneer. Wagon grease. There's no way to tell. There's no way to tell. It's just randomness and how different the artwork is what makes it so interesting, you know?
Yeah.
But the image we're going to see next is definitely ancient. But I wanted to show this because I neglected to show this in the series of videos I put up a year ago in this canyon. It's just so random and different that you can't help but wonder about it.
I guess the one thing that would make me think it's not recent would be that it's not signed or dated. It seems like a lot of the Pioneer stuff,
Yeah.
you know, people and recent people, they like to put their names on stuff.
And dates.
Or dates.
That's right. And then when they do stuff like that, you know, a lot of the Pioneer graffiti from like the late 19th century, 1875, if they put an image, it'd be an image of like a horse. This has no relation to anything Pioneer, Mormon, anything of that nature. This looks native Mexican or like deep southwestern. I don't know how to explain it any better, but it's just really perplexing. And it wasn't a child that sat here and scribbled it. I mean, they had to have been at least my height. So there's some ochre here that's faded off. Yeah, well, I'll leave you guys to ponder that, because I sure do, you know. Mm-hmm. And kind of lastly, the thing about this image itself is that we are miles and miles down into this remote canyon out in the desert. So whoever put this here, it wasn't just, you know, I don't know, you'd have to be back here for a particular reason. We're just that far deep in this canyon that's the only thing, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's just a big joke. You never know. But it's definitely experienced some fading. And I don't know. What do you guys think? So here's some artwork, clearly showing a flute player. This artwork is more than likely associated with the basket maker culture or the ancestral Puebloan. It's old, 1,000 years, maybe older. This is what's predominant in the canyon. The other culture that came after this culture, and a lot of the pictographs, that's the paintings, have been scratched out by that culture and their own images put in. Two different cultures in this canyon. It's so bright right now with the sun, it's really hard to make out, but this is a very unique panel here. A little bit of more vivid coloring just because it's got some protection in the shade up there. This is ochre, and here's some more. You can see something that's been scratched into this particular image. Notice the hands. Sorry, the light's right there, but on the inside here, it's images. So Jim was just saying, here's Here's an example of the painting that's been scratched out. And if you look above it, there's another image that's been scratched in. So that's a different culture. Now, I'm only presuming that, speculating. I have no way of knowing. You can see this one's been scratched out too. So, as I pointed out in the prior videos in this canyon, I came across lots of artwork that depicted what I believe people holding heads or decapitation. So there's a lot of painting here that's been scratched out. So it's really interesting. And to go back to that black drawing, why that is just so random and stands out in this canyon. That's the only one I've ever seen in here, all over this canyon, just like that, just right there. It's just completely bizarre. Going back right here, I want to show a couple things, and it's really bright right here, but you can see where carvings into the cliff wall were happening. That's interesting. And there's also right up there a depiction of an individual with a backpack, a traveler. You've got a depiction of a hand here. So these paintings are really old. There's fire in here. There's blackening, so there's fires right here. You can see how this has been scratched out. Here's another image of a flute player, possibly Coco Pelli. Hands. 5 fingers. No depictions of polydactyly, or no polydactyl depictions. Ooh, wow, look at that. Get really close. I'm sure the light's not really doing me justice right there. This is probably one of the coolest pieces of rock art I've come across, and I gotta crawl under this cliff. So this, I just happened to come across this last time, but I wanted to point this out because this used to be covered, and this is ancient stuff. Now, as I pointed out prior, water's flowed through here, uncovering this section of cliff, and when it did, it uncovered petroglyphs. As you can see, this is so incredible. You can see where the water ran through and uncovered the mud. And there's petroglyphs here. Someone holding a spear or a staff. As I move to the left, you can see animals there and there. The petroglyphs go down deeper. You can still see some on the edge there that's still covered by the dirt. So this has been recently uncovered whenever the last time some rain, heavy rain came through here. But these are so different than any of the rock art in here, especially this one. As far as petroglyphs is concerned, this is probably older than the pictographs. This could be a few thousand years old. It's absolutely incredible. So what do you think about that art, Jen?
I think it's incredible.
Isn't it?
It's super old.
Yeah, it's extremely old.
Like thousands of years old.
Yeah, like maybe back to the Archaic period. This hasn't been exposed for that long. Yeah, it's the human connection. You know, it's just like, just incredible. Look at that. As I mentioned, you can see the animal figures, one right there. There's another right behind it. And there's just a line of animals that continue going down to the ground. So, we'll point it out one more time. There's an animal figure. Well, let's go back to the front. There's the human, the atlatl, spear, staff. There's the first animal. There's another one. There's another animal. You can see here, going down into the dirt, and you can see where the water flowed down into a hole here and it exposed. There's another animal there still buried. So who knows how far the rock art goes down. So that definitely deserves serious contemplation, wouldn't you say?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So I'll leave it at that, folks. Look at those images. The person who put those there lived a long, long time ago. What do you suppose their life was like? I would have to say it was probably kind of exhilarating, wouldn't you, Jen?
Oh yeah.
All right, folks. As always, thanks for watching. Got lots more content on the way. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. It is free and helps the channel tremendously. We'll see you next time. D-Rock out.
Jen out.
Adios.